All right, Garrett, let's take a look at your essay. So I know we are not doing anything with Emily formatting just yet, but I did make this into Times New Roman just because the cursive was not good for me to read. So, where do I even start? Well, obviously I'm going to start with the intro and move on. One thing I'm noticing from skimming your essay that I will probably bring up a couple times is you have some interesting ideas or hypotheticals in here about that integrate your own opinion on it, which is fine, but it's just not backed up with the articles or evidence. So we will look at that a little bit more in detail as we go on. So let's start with your intro. So when I first read this, it caught me off guard, and I asked myself, why would he start his paper like that? And it just threw me through a loop. So mercy killings, you have a random capitalization there, and I don't know why that keeps happening. Mercy killings should be done a lot more in this world because there seem to be more and more sick people each day. So when I first read that, I thought that was a little crazy, because what is he trying to get with that? Like, is he trying to say, oh, well, we should just... Like, it just threw me off because you just started off your paper saying, well, we should just get more and more people killed off through mercy killings. But that's actually a really good strategy, because one of the things I told you in your packet is to kind of have this, not an unexpected fact or claim, but something that just shocks your reader. Because you are right, we do have sick people with certain incurable diseases. And I wouldn't say that there's more sick people each day. It's just that we seem to have modern technology to help a lot of things, but for those that diseases we have no cure for, it's different. So this is actually a pretty good hook to get you started. The next sentence is where, strong opinion, but doesn't work in the context of your essay. They should be done more because it seems there are more and more pedophiles, and which is spelled incorrectly, by the way, in this world, and they should be killed if and when they are caught. So this is one I have to think about. But what I'm going to tell you is this doesn't work in context of your introduction, no matter which way you want to take it. One, definitions of mercy killings, unless you find a different one, it has nothing to do with killing criminals. Throwing that out there. So this doesn't work in context of that. However, there is the body of research that shows that pedophilia alters your brain, and it is seen as a disease by medical professionals. So if you're going with that, I mean, I guess it could work, but my problem is it doesn't extend to the definition of mercy killing, as I would say 99% of people look at it, and you would have to show me sources that have that. Because yes, I know this is something that a lot of people feel very strong and adamant about. I just don't think it's relevant to mercy killing. And then with your intro, you need to give some more context to what mercy killing is, give some background to the sides of it perhaps, and then have a straightforward thesis. Mercy killings are ethical as a result of blank and blank. Okay, so as I move on to your next body paragraph, there's an idea that I'm struggling with in your essay to really explain and come to words. And I'm not sure how I want to address it with you yet, so I'm going to leave it there. So let me start with the topic sentence. Mercy killing should be done more each day because people are going to school to help people end their lives in a non-suicidal way. So a couple of things. I wouldn't use the word school, because that makes it seem like, oh, everyone's going to school. Because going to school has a different connotation or ring to it than if you said going to college or university or going to medical school. Because if you really think about it, medical school, you not only do 4 or 5 years in undergrad, then you go to medical school for at least 4 years, and for some periods it's up to 8 or even longer. So you're really going into school until your late 20s. But a lot of people who will read the word school may look at it as K-12. So that's just something to think about. The problem here is you have a lot of hypotheticals, and like I said earlier, nothing referenced from the article. So the more and more people that go to college and want to help people end their lives, they would have good jobs, they get a decent amount of money per year and be pretty successful. There's nothing that really says that this is correct from what you read. And if you have, I need to see it because this is very hypothetical. Like, oh, if we allow this to happen, then it will be good. That's just an approximation, and you don't have any evidence to back yourself up. And this is something I'm noticing a lot in your paper, is this can not. This is actually one word. I'm noticing a few different grammar-y things in here. So I don't know if this will work on the Chromebook, but I guess you could just add this on every time you do it. There's an add-on called Language Tool that lets you do spelling and grammar, because honestly, Google Docs doesn't catch everything. And this will show, I have that highlighted, so it's only going to check that. But, it has some comma rules and symbols and some verb forms to show you that I think will make it easier if you can get access to that, because there's a few grammar things I'm noticing here. But overall, when you end it, people that want to die should have the right to end their life, and there should be no law that says they cannot because it's their body. So it's a pretty good way to end the paragraph. You're just lacking that evidence and analysis that stems from the evidence. Okay, and it's the same thing I'm seeing here. So these are all things that are brought up in the article that you can definitely integrate some things from either the Kevorkian or the Time article that talks about some of the medical issues and the costs and what happens with people and the traumas they have with it. And I think that's what you need to be looking at. And just as a rule of thumb, don't ask questions in your body paragraphs, and especially the question why. Just answer it right away. You don't need to ask us why. You just need to get right into what the answer is. And then again, don't start your sentences with the word because. It doesn't work in this context. Yes, you're answering the question why, but it doesn't work as an actual sentence and isn't quite formal for a formal paper. But if you are talking about some medical things here, so I think you could have a better topic sentence that more addresses the medical part of it, but you need to be pulling from the articles and pull from the articles and use that evidence and analysis for it. But as we move into here, this is where I'm going to attempt to talk about this. And this is a little bit of a struggle for me because I'm not so sure how to get this across. So you talk about mercy killings being non-suicidal, but all I read when I look at this last body paragraph, aside from the fact that you don't really bring up the opposition, is you say it's non-suicidal, and then you say, for example, say a guy wants to end his life, his kids, grandkids, wife, no one should be able to say he can or cannot. Also, this comma is not a good thing because you're kind of saying, say a guy wants to end his life, his kids, grandkids, and his wife. So fix that somehow. No one should be able to say he can or cannot. If he wants to end his life, then he should be free to do so. But you're not giving context here. And this is my problem with it, because you transition into, lastly, if a person feels they do not belong in this world or they do not believe they have anything to live for, they should be free and have the right to end their life how they think they want to die. So the key thing with mercy killing is the loose part of the definition is it doesn't have to be medically related. It saves you from suffering what that suffering is. But the problem here is you're not making that clear based on you previously saying non-suicidal. So I don't really know what the difference is between all of this and suicide is, really. So you haven't really made that distinction, not extinction, distinction clear. And then as you move into the conclusion, mercy killing should be legal to everyone. It should be legal to the world, because if you feel instead of fell, you want to end your life because you have nothing to live for, that's where we fall into that suicide boundary again. Then you should have the right to end your life. No one should be allowed to tell you that you cannot end your life. Make that one word. It is your body, and you should have the right to do what you want and when you want. So again, with the things with the laws regarding mercy killings and suicides, I see a lot of things that you can pull from the Kevorkian article and the Time article to support these claims. But the biggest problem I have, aside from some of the grammary things that I've talked about, you don't always have a lot of transitions between things. Your conclusion does wrap up, kind of nicely with what you're talking about. Prior knowledge is okay, or your thinking order of it. But the big thing is you don't have evidence or analysis. So give me 1 second. I'm just writing this on your rubric. You need evidence and analysis. Because right now, and I will tell you, I talked with, I believe it was your mom at conferences about this, about your writing. It was actually pretty good, and you developed it pretty well. Actually, give me 1 second. I want to see what you did on the Mysoman essay test. Okay, so just checking, you got a 35 out of 50, which was a C minus. Because the thing is, I see in your essays you have this higher order thinking skills, but my problem is these are more questions or kind of your opinions on it, and you're using that to drive your essay instead of the evidence and the articles. So what you need to do instead is go through the articles, find evidence in there, and let that be the thing that drives your essay, not your own opinion on it. And that's sometimes hard to do because some of these things you feel very strongly on. When I talked to your mom about it, she even noticed that between last year and this year that something has changed with your writing, and you're very intuitive with it, you're very on top of it. And I see that here. And it's not that, how do I explain this? This kind of thinking is the thinking you should be doing. And that's great. And you don't see that with everyone. Because even if we talk about, and I always get on my soapbox about this, there is nothing more important to do in your life than to vote, because it is a very important thing to do. And in this case, if you had something about mercy killing on a ballot, I do think you have enough of your own opinion to think about things in a particular way to be well informed. But the problem is when it comes to an argumentative writing essay, you want to use rhetoric in an argument that in your paragraphs, in your essay, that supports this is ethical, this is why, and this is what needs to be. Your goal is basically to persuade your audience that mercy killing is ethical. And what I see here is some higher order thinking skills where you're really thinking about the topic at hand, but you're not incorporating the evidence, or you're just not incorporating the evidence from the article. So that is what I would encourage you to do. Aside from the grammary things, I think your thought process is really good, but your writing will get better as soon as you are incorporating rhetoric and evidence from articles. So hopefully this will help you the next time you do our papers and get around.